I'm gonna go over how to package our team kits. Okay, let's just go over the components that are supposed to be in there. We don't want any more or any less. We want exact numbers. So if we're over, you take them out. And then if we're short, you notify somebody in charge and you tag it out of service, and we try to fix it and find the missing pieces. So the rope we carry, it's 300 feet. It's 9.5 millimeters in diameter, about 300 feet. I like to just hitch off, and this is not in any particular way, first end before I start stuffing. This just gives me access to the bottom end of the rope in case I need it for something. I don't know what, but something. It's good to be able to access the terminal end of the rope without it being hidden underneath the entire 300 feet. So when I stuff, I get to the end, we tie a half a fisherman's knot. Like, if you've been around long enough, you do rope line maintenance, you know how to do a double fisherman's with polypro on the sign line. This is no different. We're just folding the rope in a bite and then grabbing that bite with our hands so that the tail sticks away from us, and we're doing the exact same thing. We're just doing half a double fisherman's knot. And I don't want a really long tail, but I don't want a really short tail either. And I want this to be dressed in a nice X pattern. I see a lot of times where it's a double overhand and it's undressed. Granted, it's the right knot, but we want to make sure we are correct and we are meticulous in how we tie and dress and set our knots. So that's the correct knot. It's not set, so I'm gonna wait to set it until I grab a carabiner. But before I do, let's just go over what else is in the kit. Okay, software. We already talked about the rope. It's 300 feet. 3 each. They're all the same size, all the same color. This is 7 millimeter dynamic prusik. It's sewn bound loop. These are for haul systems and progress captures if we need them. The one additional prusik to make 4. This is a smaller diameter. It's 6 mil. It's a little bit shorter. This is what we pre-rig onto the rope. So we want 3 7 mil prusiks, all the same color, and 1 6 mil prusik, blue and purple, shorter. We have a spool of this. We can make and cut more if we lose it, so it's not a big deal. We want 4 pieces of webbing. 2 of them are short and 2 of them are long. I don't care what colors they are, just as long as we have 2 shorts and 2 longs. How do you store them? If you don't know how to daisy chain correctly, don't do it. Just fold it up on itself and tie a big overhand, because it's very specific on how we daisy chain. If you want to daisy chain and you want to do it right, we always start with the tail, and we always feel the entire length of the webbing to check for frays, burns, nicks, melting spots, etc. And we're guaranteeing that the webbing is flat and there are no twists on it. And then we fold the tails together, and we always start with the tails. I rotate the tails so that the tails are facing me, and then I start working away towards the bite. And I start as if I'm just tying an overhand on a bite, but I don't feed the bite all the way through to make the knot. I just stop right there, and that's like a half hitch. So I don't want any other knots anywhere in my webbing. When I start, I just start with that half hitch, and then I daisy chain by replicating what I just did into the bite. And if I can keep these things tight, great. You practice it for an hour, you'll get really good, and then revisit it like the next week for a half hour, and then eventually you retain the muscle memory on how to do this correctly. So don't start at the bite, start at the tails, and don't tie any pre-existing knots in it anywhere. If you can't do that, just fold it over on it in half a few times and then just tie a big overhand. That's how you correctly daisy chain. Okay, 1 helmet. 6 carabiners, screw locking pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no more, no less. 2 prusik minding pulleys. 1 aperture blade device, aka ATC, and then 1 Petzl ID. Okay, so those are the components. Let's go back to the pre-rigging. On the poacher's knot that I made, the barrel noose, so 2-wrap barrel noose, it's called a poacher's knot. I take one of my carabiners. I don't care how big of a loop I made. I don't really care, because I'm going to cinch this down on itself. And when I clip this carabiner in, I want to clip it and rotate it in such a way that the big opening is away and the knot is cinched on the narrower part, and we suck all this loop material, the gain, we suck the gain down till there's nothing there. right there. Now, this is kind of sort of stuck down, but this can still rotate. The reason why we have these knots is so that we can dress and set them so that the carabiner cannot rotate through and cross-load inadvertently, which can happen. So the way I tighten everything up, I hold the knot, I pull that tail, and then I pull the other part of it, the standing end. Everything chokes up, and then my last thing, I pull the standing end and the carabiner, and now it's secured and it doesn't want to move. That's the correct way to do that. Okay, now we rig our prusik onto the line. You can imagine that if I'm clipping into a prusik, for cleanliness, I'd want the knot of that prusik to be out of like the way. So it's going to end up looking something like that. This is going to be prusik onto the rope. So knowing that I want this knot somewhere out of the way, I can start right here so it's down and out of the way and start my wraps. It's a 3-wrap prusik. And all too often, I see that this is not dressed correctly and all the strands are kind of overlapping each other. It doesn't take that much extra time. It's not an emergency, so put away the equipment clean. Like that's not, if I leave it like that, that's going to be a problem. So I just want to make sure that I get a nice bridge by pushing and feeding and rolling this out and then cinching this down and making sure that I get a nice 6-pack of donuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the bridge. And my knot is out of the way of that mess, and it's also out of the way of my hook end point on the carabiner. So, out of our 6 carabiners so far, we have 2 that are pre-rigged. Now we rig our descender or descent control device, and most often we're using it as a descent control device. Okay, this cam can rotate pretty freely. I just want to open it with my hand. And then where do I feed the rope? Well, I want the loaded end, the people who are being rescued on the end of the line, I want that to feed in first, wrap it around so that the rest of the rope that's coming out into the bag is the brake strand. Here, that's how I know I've done that. I don't even have to look at the markers. I just know that if I see grooves, like that's my brake strand, and this is the loaded package. Okay, don't really care how far away this stuff is, as long as it's just pre-rigged, it can sit there. Now I also want to put in my anchor strap, and I'll typically leave this kind of extended out longer, and then clip in. And then this whole thing just sits in the bag right there. We have bags, we have little slings that we can put things on. This I don't really care about, but I do like to keep all my prusiks on one carabiner. I can throw that in the bag. I can put all the rest of the hardware, which is the aperture blade device and the 2 pulleys, on another carabiner, and then all my webbing on the 3rd carabiner. Okay, so if I see that, I have a nice warm and fuzzy that I don't have to second guess, like if I'm missing anything or if things are rigged incorrectly, so it gives me a good peace of mind. Storing these in the rescue room. So GAT2 has 2 team kits, Head and Peak has 4 team kits, because they always deploy in pairs typically. On Head and Peak, we have bags that are labeled frontline kits. Those are the ones that we would prefer you take out when you're doing an actual live cliff rescue first. But you can also use the backup kits too. That's not a problem. However, we want to store these in such a way to make it idiot-proof that we take the right color combination of rope and we take a guest harness with us. Okay, so if we look on the racks here. 1, 2. Our frontline kits, I want on one rack hook, backups on another rack hook. We have a black and a red for each, color-wise. So when I store this on the rack, I don't care how I start. In this case, it says frontline black. I put frontline black in first, and then I put frontline red on top of it. I switch when I go to the backup. So if this is black first, this should be red. So backup red first. Okay, and then black. Now let's check our guest harnesses. I don't care if they're clipped to a red or a black. All I care about on the guest harnesses is that they're alternating. So on the frontline kits, if I clip this to the red bag, clip it to the red bag on the backup. That is diagonally across, because if I'm in a rush or I don't know any better and I grab 2 team kits, I could grab the 2 front lines together, which is ideal. I could grab 2 backups together, which is fine. But either way, I still get a red rope and a black rope and a guest harness. If I screw up bad and grab the 2 team kits that are just front on each one, and I grab 1 front line and 1 backup, well, the colors are still going to be red and black, and I still get 1 guest harness. So either way, it makes it idiot proof so that I don't screw up when they ask for like 2 team kits. I get 2 different colors of rope and I get a guest harness. There you go.